So we're changing gears a little bit, and we're speaking a bit about colleges. Specifically in this context, let's talk about colleges and also distance learning providers. So Jan Badenhorst is the Chief Executive Officer of Skills Academy. So Jan, if we could bring you into the conversation and just tell us a little bit about your response to your college's response to COVID-19 so far, and what do you see as a way forward for Skills Academy, given the constraints of your student base, and perhaps you could just give us a summary of where you are today and what the future looks like for Skills Academy.
Thanks, Nathier. Yes, let me give some background. My background is in traditional distance learning, which in South Africa means you print notes, you buy books, you send it to students, hopefully not to the post office. We operate in the FET market, meaning most of our students are adults. They don't have matric, they're at a lower academic level than matric, they're working. Yeah, you can't assume that people have fast internet or computers or any of that. But, I want to link to what Alex and Paul said. You use what you've got. And I think I'll give you some examples of where we've just used what is there quite successfully. Sorry. I am a proponent of technology, but I'm always wary of ensuring that it is technology that makes sense. So I love it when there's something for free that solves a problem. We're a private business, we're for profit, so one also has to run the numbers and see what works. Okay, the challenge we faced. So we're already in the business of teaching people who are not in a classroom. So in that sense, we have an advantage over people who actually had to move from classroom into this virus situation. However, we print stuff, we send it to students via courier. We're not allowed to be at the office, we can't print. The courier isn't allowed to pick up from us. So that stream of books to the student dries up. Our challenge is, how do we keep people studying? Also, how we try to differentiate ourselves from other colleges is we say to students, if you don't study, you don't have to pay. We're trying to make quite a direct relation between the customer being happy and the supplier being paid. So my customers, if they can't study, they're going to go, well, there's a clause in the contract that says then they don't have to pay. So it's a very real business pressure to ensure the student is able to keep on studying. We had to close our offices quite fast, and that in itself, closing the office and moving people home has its own problems. And a lot of how we do provide the service to the students. So the books we courier to you, but a lot of how we provide the service is emails, phone calls, WhatsApp, that kind of stuff. That's all nicely set up in the office. Now we have to figure out how to move it home. So what did we see? We saw increase in the use of WhatsApp. We already were running WhatsApp kind of study groups for some groups of students. We see increase in that use. It's a great example for me of it's free. Most people have it. WhatsApp is certainly not a great platform for teaching. Is it better than nothing? Absolutely. This whole conversation is about from nothing to something. Everybody has WhatsApp. We use WhatsApp. That's a positive step. Certainly, we could see people increasing the use of WhatsApp in talking to us. And certainly we increased our communications from our side. We also use Edmodo. It's a free app. It's also like a conversation app, certainly increasing conversation there. We also use Together We Passes platform. It's an online platform for conversations between students and lecturers. It's quite a fancy platform. Once again, we can see an increase in usage. What we also did from our side, because we got to counter that thing of we're now all on extended holiday. So we are also talking to students about, this is your chance to study faster. This is your chance, you're a part-time student. Suddenly you can study a lot more hours in a week than you would normally do. And also goes back to our proposition, if you study faster, you finish faster. The student who finishes early actually stops paying at that point. So we try to link the money to the studying in a positive way. Next to all of this, of course, and that's probably a different conversation, web traffic has dropped, income has dropped, my customers are paying me not as well as usual, my sales are down. So you also got to watch what are you doing to survive as a business financially. For us, that's linked to how do we keep the students studying. Okay, let me get to the interesting bit. So you can't courier. A lot of our study material we own. I kid you not, we put it on a hard drive, we put it in a shared drive, we email it to the student. Don't even talk to me about copyright on my own stuff. We're a big provider of the Institute of Certified Bookkeeper courses. We buy our study material from Edge Learning Solutions. Edge said to us, for every book we buy, they are giving us a free online book voucher valid for 3 months. So we simply keep on buying a book, we get the voucher, we email the voucher to the student, and he has access to his material online. My concern always in the market where we're at, not high income people who don't have matric, is how do they download a book? Onto what device do they download it? How do they interact with it? I was pleasantly surprised. I kid you not, 0 complaints, 0 issues. People, I also think students are putting in the extra effort. They are realizing the opportunity, they are realizing the challenges, and they are going from ours, you from your side are doing stuff to make it work, from our side we're also attempting to make it work. So I'm surprised that people would download, whether it's PDFs or an ebook, and use it and study and find a device to study on in the market where we're at. Let me look at my notes. Okay. The other thing that people have brought up, and we just really haven't gotten around to asking, is your big data providers are allowing people to access university websites for free without having to pay for the data. You know, if you go on your phone to UNISA's website, you're not paying for that data. I think we should be more proactive and asking if we can't also be included in that kind of thing to help our students. Then we try to be more proactive because we think we have a responsibility to keep on encouraging people and keep on motivating them. Some of that is as silly as Facebook posts, you know, and some of it is as serious as more proactive phone calls to the student, more proactive messages to the student. Trying to start a conversation in whatever online conversation application you are, whether it's WhatsApp or email. We can see that's helped. And I've also had some questions about what about peer-to-peer? Now, WhatsApp, in a WhatsApp group, it is peer-to-peer. And what I'm always pleasantly surprised about, you put a lot of students together in a WhatsApp group. If you can get past all the frustrations of a long stream, you know, that you've got to read all of the stuff, people engage with each other, they help each other. You see a student ask a question, and before the lecturer can answer it, another student is actually answering it. Definitely for distance learning, and I guess everybody's in distance learning now, enabling the students to talk to each other is very valuable. And it doesn't take more technology than WhatsApp if you want to do it. If you want to go from nothing to something today, WhatsApp groups, and you have all your students in a class. How am I doing for time?
Thanks, Jan. I think we're going to need to move on to our next speaker. I think your contribution's been really valuable, and I think some of the salient points that we'd like to actually zoom in on is what you speak about. You know, using WhatsApp groups is definitely one tactic, and later on, Connie's asked a very good question in terms of the gap that we are going to inevitably create between the have and the have-nots. So it's certainly something we're going to circle back to right at the end in the Q&A. So thanks, Jan, for your contribution. And certainly, I'm sure that those thinking about how they could take the next step would have taken something out of your book and what your business has done so far. And again, like you're saying, you know, if you don't sell, there's no revenue coming in. So no one learning means no revenue. That's a